Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, coming to you from the Overflow Room with this object, the Mischa Maisky Complete Deutsche Grammophon recordings. Just when you thought you'd heard it all, here it comes. Well, how many CDs has this got? I think 41 or something like this. It has a lot. Let's see, there's 44. Ooh, 44. And we're going to go through them one at a time as usual. First of all, I have to say, I don't like the hair. That's me. I just don't like the hair. I don't like the wet look. I think it looks just a little bit, I don't know. He's trying to look sort of like a cross between Michael Jackson and Jesus. And that doesn't work for me. Also, the exterior of the box is this rather repellent shade of pink, sort of trending towards lime green here, which is like, ugh, it looks kind of gross. But that's all cosmetics. It doesn't make any difference. What matters is the musical quality of the contents therein. So I'm pulling out the booklet. This has one of these jack-in-the-box things, as you can see, which doesn't ever really close. So again, you have to be a little careful how you pick it up or tip it. And it has inside, as you can see, the CDs are here, the booklet is here, and then there's one of these styrofoam things here, which hopefully is not one of those styrofoam things that's going to dissolve and stick to everything in a putrescent puddle of polyvinyl chloride or whatever the heck it is. So here is Mischa Maisky. Now let's talk a bit about good old Mish. Mischa Maisky is a tremendous cellist, a fabulous technician, a guy who has made himself a marvelous career and gets wonderful partnerships with other artists. But, you know, he's a bit controversial. And he's controversial because he is one of those over-the-top romantic types who plays with a huge vibrato and lots of weird phrasing, and he's sometimes terribly exaggerated, and that annoys some people, and other people think it's part of the 19th century zeitgeist that he is channeling in his cello playing. And I have no doubt that in the 19th century, there were many romantic artists who were all over the place. The difference is that they didn't have recordings to show them how they ought to do things. And Maisky does. And whether he does or doesn't is not really, you know, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I like quite a bit of his stuff. I dislike some of his stuff. And one of the things you discover when you look at all of his work together is that things that he has recorded multiple times, actually, he's rather unpredictable. They can go one way or the other. There's no way to say that the later version is better than the earlier version or that the earlier version is better than the later version. You have to listen and take them individually. And so, without further ado, here we go. Oh, yes. We start, what do you think? No, with CDs 3 and 4. Let's start with CDs 1 and 2. That's probably the best place to begin. Oh, here they are. They're the same as CDs 3 and 4, as it turns out. They are the Bach Suites for solo cello. Now, he originally did these things in 1984, and they're very good. I mean, they're really very, very good. He was a terrific technician, and I think because this was 1984 and he was a little younger and maybe a little bit less sure of himself, he played better. He played better. I mean, he was a little bit more, I think, respectful and conservative in his choices. And I think in this music that works better. I really do. I truly, truly, truly do. You can see our reviews of his later version of the Bach Cello Suites, which are on CDs 3 and 4, on ClassicsToday.com, where my colleague David Vernier wrote an extremely detailed and perspicacious review of these new ones, saying that they're basically horrible and abysmal and abominable. And I would agree with that. They are generally very quick and very strange and certainly more personal. But, you know, when you compare them to the earlier ones, of course, Maisky much preferred the later ones, and everyone else tends to prefer the earlier ones. And if you are a ClassicsToday.com insider person, then shortly, when you see this, if not, you know, if you give me a day or two, maybe, I don't know, maybe this weekend, I will put up the review on Insider with some sound samples where you can compare the two cello suites and see exactly what we're talking about. But there they are, and I tend not to appreciate his more wayward impulses. One of the reasons you make records, of course, is because you want to repeat things, and spontaneity is wonderful, and personality is wonderful, but it has to be wonderful more than once. It has to withstand repetition, and the first Bach Cello Suites do, and the second Bach Cello Suites do not, in my humble opinion. Next, we're already on CD 5. See how much progress we're making? Oh, the Bach Gamba Sonatas, not played on a gamba, thank God, but on a cello with Martha Argerich. That's a great record. That's just a great record. I mean, you may not like it on a piano. You may not like it on a cello instead of a dying cow or a gamba, whichever suits your fancy. But these are astonishingly great Bach performances. And of course, Argerich is always a fabulous partner because not only does she play the bejesus out of anything she touches, but I think she has a wholly beneficial influence, most of the time anyway, on her partner. Meaning, not only does she sometimes elevate them to her standard, but she also gets them to cooperate, and it's the cooperation that makes and the sensitivity that results from that cooperation that I think tempers some of Maisky's wilder impulses and makes these such beautiful performances. So that's wonderful. And by the way, the booklet has, with each recording, there is a note by Maisky, which is really rather cool. I think that's really a nice thing. Here, by the way, is the contents of the box, printed in such a way that you will never be able to read it. It's pale white print on pale pink and lime green covers. Why do they do this? Why? All right, never mind. So that's CD 5. CD 6 is the Goldberg Variations, in the string trio arrangement by Dmitri Sitkovetsky. This is with Julian Rachlin and Nabucco Imai and Mischa Maisky, and they play very, very, very well. Again, Maisky is a wonderful ensemble player. I give him credit for all of his kookiness sometimes when he's a soloist. He is a very considerate colleague, and it's a really fine performance of that arrangement of the Goldberg Variations, if you happen to like it. I prefer keyboard, but it's very, very listenable and enjoyable. I liked it very much. Okay, then we get Beethoven Cello Sonatas and Variations, a bunch of them. Yes, here they all are. Yeah, there's just the basic stuff, all the variations in cello sonatas with Martha Argerich. And it's one of the great sets of Beethoven cello sonatas, unquestionably. Fabulous. Then we get some Vivaldi cello concertos with let's see, who's playing on the orchestra? And it's Orpheus. With Orpheus. And let's see, it's also with Boccherini. Let me see here. We have cello continuo, 3 cello concertos with Robert Walensky, harpsichord continuo, and Melissa Mell, CD 9. Right, and Boccherini's string quintet, the Minuetto, the famous one, and then 2 cello concertos by Boccherini as well. So this is a very full disc, and it's really, really cool because it's with Orpheus, who is another wonderful, 73 minutes long, a wonderful collaborator, again, collaborative ensemble, and they all have a grand time playing this music. And I have to say, especially with Boccherini, the more romantic you make it, the better, because Boccherini was a chord guy. He was a timbre and texture guy. And he wrote and notated his music with excruciating sensitivity as regards the kind of sound and degrees and nuances that he wanted. So you should play with substantial vibrato, but it should be a variable vibrato. You should play with a certain freedom of phrasing and flexibility. And it's just lovely. It's lovely. And the tension between conductorless Orpheus that tends to be more metronomic and Maisky, it was, out there somewhere, is really quite wonderful. This, of course, will show up in the Orpheus box, which is coming in August. So, I'm telling people, this is what's today. It's like July, I don't know, it's the second week in July, right after the July 4th holiday. So it's at 4, 5, 6, this is the 8th, I guess, or the 9th. This must be the 9th. And that's in a month. We're going to have an Orpheus box. So be forewarned. Also, you may have the Martha Argerich chamber music box, in which case all of this stuff is in there too. We duplicate and duplicate and duplicate. Brahms, the G minor piano quartet. Oh, is this fun? This is with Argerich, Kramer, Yuri Bashmet, and Maisky. And boy, is that a barn-burning smoker. Let it all hang out, romantic fandango. Oh, it's so much fun. And you also get Schumann's Fantasia Stücke for piano trio. And those are quite lovely, too. Oh, boy, the Brahms is just, wow, is that fun. Oh, it's so much fun. The finale, oh my God, it's so much fun. Let's see. Brahms, cello sonatas. And this is with Pavel Gilolov and Maisky, along with a bunch of song transcriptions. And I happen to not be a big fan of the Brahms cello sonatas. I think somehow they sound like two detached instruments that never manage quite to get together, the piano and the cello. And these performances are no better integrated than others, in my view, but they are extremely romantic performances, as you might expect. Not in any way untasteful. They are not. I have to be honest. And then we have Brahms' Songs Without Words. These are all song arrangements, along with the sonata for piano and cello in D major, which is a transcription of the Violin Sonata Number 1, again with Paul Gilolov. And these are beautiful. One thing about Maisky, he is fantastic as a miniaturist, and he is fantastic at songs without words. That is, in making the cello seem to speak in a romantic way. I mean, it's something he was really, really, really good at. And we'll get to that when we talk about his discs of cello miniatures, too, because they're just marvelous. So that is really the best part of his Brahms. Like I said, the sonatas don't do it for me. And the violin sonata arranged for cello, curiously enough, actually sounds better to me than the cello sonatas do. But that's me, and I have my dear friend Styra Avens, who is a cellist and a Brahms scholar, will probably send me hate mail if she sees this. Maybe she won't. We'll get lucky and she won't look. All right, Dvorak Cello Concerto and Bloch Shlomo. This is with the Israel Phil and Leonard Bernstein. These are big, hot, heavy, panting, drooling, excessive performances, and I don't like them. Even Shlomo you can really go to town on, and I guess Maisky sort of does, but it's just slow and heavy-handed, and I don't understand the point. I really don't. And the tempos, oh my God, the Dvorak seems to last forever. What is this, 26 and 16, 26, 36, 42, 43? It just drags for me. It really does. And on CD 14, we have a live recording of the Dvorak Cello Concerto with Zubin Mehta and the Berlin Philharmonic, and then Don Quixote with Tabia Zimmerman, viola with Zubin Mehta and the Berlin Philharmonic. And these are good performances. And what a difference in the Dvorak. It begins with some applause, by the way. They're live. I mean, if you look at the timings, let me just do a comparison for you. The Dvorak first movement, Bernstein versus Mehta. Ready? 1633 versus 1429. The slow movement, 1320 versus 1053. The finale, 1335 versus 1205. This is one of those cases where the circumstances of live performance energize everybody, and it's all to the good. And like I said, the Strauss, I mean, Mehta is a fabulous Strauss conductor. It's the Berlin Philharmonic. Tabia Zimmerman is a wonderful violist. It's good. It's really, really good. And Maisky is a very, very fine Don Quixote. I mean, he has tons and tons of personality. And so the performance, the embodiment of the Don has quite a bit of personality, too, and it's all in a good way. It really is. Okay, the Elgar Cello Concerto and the Tchaikovsky Rococo Variations with Maisky, the Philharmonia, and Sinopoli. Oh, God. Where do we begin? I think this Elgar is soggy. And the Tchaikovsky is better, but still a little soggy. You know, Sinopoli and Maisky strike me as not terribly well paired because it's sort of like with Bernstein. Sinopoli was also sometimes a terribly self-indulgent conductor, and he played this late romantic music as the sort of, you know, decadent, bygone remnant of a sick and psychologically disturbed era. And Maisky was only too willing to second him in that approach. So I am not a fan of that record. Others may feel differently. I don't know. Let's see. We get the Haydn cello concertos. The Haydn cello concertos and one of his violin concertos played on the cello with the Chamber Orchestra of Europe, with Maisky directing and playing. I think there have been many versions of the Haydn cello concertos, especially recently, especially with period instrument groups or in more period instrument style, that I like better than these performances. But they're very good, and I can't, say that there's anything wrong with them. And of course, Maisky is such a polished cellist. I mean, he has such a fine technique that I think that you can't really criticize him on stylistic grounds. But there are other performances that are leaner and meaner that I tend to prefer, especially the C major cello concerto, which is such a great piece. It was only discovered in the 50s, and it's marvelous. Then we get Mendelssohn's cello sonatas and his variations, kind of variation concertante, those things in D major, and then again a bunch of songs without words arranged for cello and piano by various people. Of course, Mendelssohn's songs without words really are songs without words. And again, these are really good performances. The Mendelssohn cello sonatas are fabulous, by the way, as with most of Mendelssohn's cello music and chamber music generally. Mendelssohn is such an underrated composer, and his chamber music is just the best of him. So those are wonderful and worth hearing. The Prokofiev Sinfonia Concertante for cello and orchestra. Oh boy, this is such a tough piece to do. Oh my God. And so many performances are just bow wows. And it's coupled with the Miaskovsky cello concerto, which is kind of like the Elgar, only without the tunes. I find this is with the Russian National Orchestra in Pletnev. These performances simply bore me. I don't know what else to tell you. Then we have a zillion Rachmaninoff things, the Rachmaninoff cello sonata, and a bunch of songs transcribed for cello and orchestra. And again, the songs are great. The sonata is pretty terrific too. It really is. I mean, Maisky is just the kind of guy for Rachmaninoff's heavy breathing, brooding, dark Russian, Slavic, soulful, romantic stuff. And this is with Sergio Tempo on the piano. And then there's more Rachmaninoff, the trio Trio Elegiac. I always call it elegiac. I don't know why. It's elegiac. And the Tchaikovsky piano trio, the endless Tchaikovsky piano trio. These are with Long, Vadim Repin, and Maisky. And it's a very good performance. They are very, very fine performances. The Tchaikovsky can be endless. It can sound just interminable, unbearable. And it doesn't here. It has plenty of color and character, and the theme and variation second movement, which lasts about 4 or 5 hours in most performances, goes by very, very quickly. It really sounds good. And then let's see, Saint-Saens. Here we have his cello concerto number 1, and then the Swan and the Allegro Appassionato and the Romance in F, and a suite version for cello and orchestra, which is really a nice piece to know. It's a lovely little suite, and his cello sonata number 1, and this is with Orpheus, and the piano stuff is with Daria Havora, and it's just terrific. It really is. And then we have the Carnival, the Animals. This is with Gideon Kramer and Isabel Van Keulen and Tabia Zimmerman and Mischa Maisky and everybody in the kitchen sink, and all of your best friends and your mother and your aunt and your cousin and me playing the glass harmonica. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not. And the cello concerto number 2, again with Orpheus. And these are very, very fine. Very, very fine. Edith Salmon Weber is the glockenspiel soloist, and Marcus Steckler is the xylophone soloist in the Carnival of the Animals. And those are the only parts that really matter. We don't care about the Swan, do we? No, these are fun. They're fun performances and beautifully done. Schubert, the Arpeggione Sonata, and then song transcriptions. Tons of song transcriptions. Du bist die Ruhe and An die Musik and the Trout. And, all kinds of stuff here. Oh, Der Leiermann. This is a dark performance of Der Leiermann from Winterreise. Oh, my goodness. It's wonderful. Just wonderful. And more Schubert. The Arpeggione Sonata again, this time with Martha Argerich, and the Schumann Fantasia Stücke Opus 73, and the 5 Stücke im Volkston, the 5 pieces in folk style. And these are wonderful performances with Martha Argerich. What is not to love? Then we get the Schubert Quintet with Kremer and Kaya Danzalska. Kaya Danzalska, I would listen to anything Kaya Danzalska does. She is such a fabulous violinist, and she is so much better than Gegen Kremer. And we have Gerard Cosset, viola, and Maisky, and Ko Iwasaki. And I don't like this performance of the quintet on the whole, however. There are so many better ones. The Alban Berg with Heinrich Schiff, or the Orpheus Quartet, the one on Channel Classics, or there are some just amazing, astonishing performances of the quintet, and this one somehow never quite gels for me. I think the second movement could be a little bit more, a little steadier and a little bit more transfigured sounding and more eruptive. And the first movement is well done, but and the scherzo, it's that hunting music. It needs to have more edge. I don't know. Just me again. And the Schubert Trio in B flat, which is just lovely. That's with Kremer, Nabucco, Imai, and Maisky. That's much better. Much better than the quartet, even though, Gegen Kremer is Gegen Kremer. You either like his tone or you don't like his tone. He's in good shape in most of these performances, granted. But again, the Schubert trios, you will have your favorites. The Trio Wanderer ones on Harmonium Mundi, they're so good. And really better than these. But these are good. And then Webern, 2 pieces for cello and piano with Maisky and Oleg Meisenberg. With Webern, 2 pieces for cello and piano. Okay, it's Webern. It's 2 pieces for cello and piano. They last, 4 minutes and 40 seconds. And they are perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. Schumann Cello Concerto and the Brahms Double Concerto. The double concertos with Gegen Kremer. These are the Vienna Philharmonic Leonard Bernstein performances, which I find, again, somewhat sticky and heavy, and I do not enjoy them. Neither of them. Sorry. I just don't think this late Bernstein stuff was his best, and I don't think it's Maisky at his best either. All right, CD 27. I'll pop in and let you know where we are once in a while. Schumann, the Adagio and Allegro, Fantasia Stücke Opus 73. Again! We already had him with Argerich. And here she is again! And the Romance and the 5 Stücke and Folks. I think these are the same performances. Yes, they are, aren't they? And the Märchenbilder and the Schumann Cello Concerto again. But this cello concerto, I have to say, I was listening to it and comparing it. This is with Orpheus, the Orpheus Chamber Orchestra. This is better. It's better. I just wonder, I didn't look at timings for this one. I'm just curious. Let me go back for a second. Give me a second. Oh, yeah. No question about it. Oh, it's so much more chipper. Although the finale, interestingly, is quite a bit slower in this Orpheus recording than it is for Bernstein. That's interesting, isn't it? But the first 2 movements are a little bit more chipper and as I said, and a little bit more, I think, rhythmically full of verve and lightness, which the music needs. So I prefer the Schumann Cello Concerto. Now, the Argerich stuff, let me see, what year was this? This is 1999 and State University of New York at Purchase. 1997, let me go back, just out of curiosity. And this is 1984. Okay, they're remakes. And again, I was not, when I was listening to these and I was dipping in and listening to this stuff back and forth, doing some A-B comparisons, I didn't look at the recording dates all the time. So I'm just like, you don't need this stuff twice. I don't care if it is Martha Argerich twice. We don't need it twice. We just don't. Shostakovich Cello Concertos with Michael Tilson Thomas and the London Symphony Orchestra. First rate. Both of them. Absolutely first rate. Tilson Thomas is great. The LSO is great. Maisky is great. He knows the music like the back of his hand. It sounds fabulous, and I'm completely happy. Shostakovich Trio and the Tchaikovsky Trio. Again! This is not the one with Long, obviously. This is with Martha Argerich and Gegen Kremer. These are classic performances. The Shostakovich Trio is all over the place, but in a good way. They just fling themselves at it. Absolutely go crazy. They go nuts. It's very, very spontaneous and emotional and sort of spastic, and so is Shostakovich. And the Tchaikovsky is a barn burner. Absolutely fabulous. So I'm happy with that. Okay, the Richard Strauss Cello Sonata and Romance in F major, the Dvorak Sonatina and Romantic Peace, only one of them. the Rondo for cello and piano in G minor, and Strauss's Morgan, transcribed for cello and piano by Mischa Maisky. This is with Maisky and Pavel Gililov. I find the Strauss cello sonata to be excruciatingly uninteresting, but the rest of the program is lovely. That's not Maisky's fault. God knows he plays it well. Tchaikovsky, Rococo Variations, with the Orpheus Chamber Orchestra. Oh, so much better than it was with Sinopoli. So much tighter and more appropriately argued. I mean, it's a variation piece. It needs to have, it's Rococo. It's got to have some elegance and some proportion and balance and freshness and, it's just better. And then you get Lenski's aria from Eugene Onegin, a nocturne, and the Andante Cantabile from the String Quartet No. 1 with lots of cello. And you get the Orpheus Chamber Orchestra doing the Souvenir de Florence sextet in the version for string orchestra, and that is a fabulous performance. So this is a terrific disc. Most of these, as you can see, are more on the plus than minus sides, which is a good thing. So despite the hideous color scheme, it looks so washed out. I don't know. It's terrible. Anyway, okay, Stravinsky, Suite Italienne, Prokofiev Cello Sonata. The Stravinsky is horrible. Absolutely horrible. It's totally not Stravinsky. Stravinsky needs to be rhythmic and clean and neat and sensitive and balanced and precise. And this is just... the Prokofiev is much better. Definitely better. Shostakovich Cello Sonata. Very good. And Prokofiev, there's a waltz. So this is with Maisky and Argerich. They are not Stravinsky players. They really aren't. They are not. They shouldn't do it. It's a mistake. CD 33. Chopin Piano Sonata. And cello. The Chopin Cello Sonata and the Franck Violin Sonata and the cello variation and the cello version and the Debussy Cello Sonata and Chopin Polonaise Brilliant in C major. Now, these are with Maisky and Argerich. And they're all pretty damn fine. They're all wonderful. Argerich owns the Franck. She's recorded it, I think, 7 times, maybe 8 times. In every version, she's done the violin version, the cello version, the flute version, the organ version, the contrabassoon version, the submarine version, the toaster version. All of them. The microwave version, you name it, she's done it. And she is fantastic. It's a very, very fine performance of all of these works. And again, these are very well-filled CDs. My goodness, 79 minutes and 48 seconds. You get a lot of music here. You can't complain. All right, now comes some of the stuff that Maisky does better than anybody. These are his discs of little things. Russian romances. It's called Vocalise. And, of course, it's got the Rachmaninoff, you know what. I think somewhere here it should be. That's why it's called that. Rubinstein, yeah. Arensky. Oh, my God, there's tons of stuff. Up there's the Vocalise. Tons and tons of stuff. You get Glinka, you get Tchaikovsky, you get Dargo Mishki, you get Mussorgsky, you get Rimsky-Korsakov, you get Anton Rubinstein, Anton Arensky, Cesar Cui, Alexander Glazunov, Rachmaninoff, of course, Alexander Gurliov, Iskuchno, Igrustno, I am weary and sad, which is what you want in this music. And then Anonymous. What a fabulous disc of music, all transcribed beautifully for cello and orchestra, 77 minutes. Again, a wonderful program. Then you get Après un rêve, the French cello and piano disc. It's Fauré, Après un rêve, transcribed by Pablo Casals. And so you get Fauré and Bizet and Ravel, the 2 melodies Hébraïques, which is so much fun. Massenet, Debussy, and oh my God, Chausson. And Rinaldo Hahn and Henri Duparc and Poulenc. Oh, Poulenc is wonderful. And you get Les Chemins de l'Amour. L'amour, toujours l'amour. Oh, it's fantastic. Great. This is with Mischa Maisky and Daria Havora. These discs of I'm not a big little bitsy collection guy, generally speaking. I like larger works. But these programs are so beautifully put together and so magnificently well played by Maisky. They are models of their kind. They truly are. Then we get Chalisimo, Bach, Air on the G string, and Handel's aria, Vouchsafe, O Lord, and Bach's Adagio from the Toccata Adagio Fugue in C major, and another Boccherini minuet, because you can never have too many of those. Schubert's Moment Musical in F minor, Schumann Romance, Chopin Etudes and Nocturnes, and the Saint-Saens Allegro Appassionato, again, I guess, I don't know. Debussy's Clair de Lune, and Minstrels for the preludes, and Bloch's Nigun, and Bach Nun kommt der Haydn Heiland, the choral prelude from the 18 chorales of diverse kinds. Oh my goodness, with Maisky and Daria Havora, another great disc. Then we get Adagio. Ooh, Adagio. It's slow, but it's lovely. Saint-Saens, Fauré, Respighi, Dvorak, Glazunov, Tchaikovsky, Bruch, Strauss, Haydn. You get the Strauss Romance again. Again, there's some duplication here, but this is with the Orchestre de Paris and Semyon Bychkov. This is with orchestra, and which is good, because if you're going to have a program all of adagios, you need the extra color and variety that the orchestrations offer. And so there you go. Fantastic. They are fantastic. And then we get meditation, when the cello sings a lullaby. And I guess we get lullabies. Oh my God. Yes, the Gounod, Bach, Ave Maria, and Handel's Larghetto from the Sonata for Violin, arranged for cello, and Lully and Gluck, and Mendelssohn, and Chopin, and Schubert, and Schumann, and Brahms, and Faye, and Fauré, and Massenet, and Saint-Saens, the Swan, for the 400th time, and Ravel, and some traditional stuff, and Tchaikovsky, and Rachmaninoff, the Vocalise, again! Oh boy! And Chrysler's Liebeslied, and Maisky with Pavel Gililov. Now, some of this stuff, it does get repetitious, I understand, and you may not want 300 versions of the Vocalise or some of these other things that keep reappearing for some reason, but hey, that's what happens when you get a big box. Then we have Adagietto, CD 39, we're getting to the end. Mahler's Adagietto from Symphony number 5, and a Bach Adagio and a Largo, and the Mozart and Saint-Saens. My heart opens to your voice from Saint-Saens et Dalila. Oh, yes. Never mind. I just can't help it. Massenet's Meditation from Thais. I was wondering when that would show up. It had to. And there's Tchaikovsky and Scriabin and Grieg, Solveig's song, and Schubert, some trios, the Notturno, that's trio movement. Schumann Andante Cantabile, Brahms Andante, movement 3 from the Piano Quartet number 3. And this is with Mischa Maisky and Sophie Halenek harp, and Lily Maisky, his daughter, on the piano, and Sasha Maisky, his son, on the violin, and Martha Argerich in one of these things, and Janine Jansen and Julian Racklin, and all the arrangements are by Mischa Maisky, or a lot of them are. And, you can take it or leave it. CD 40. España! Yes, España. We get Manuel de Falla's Suite Popular Español. Those are fun. Oh, I love that stuff. It's wonderful. And then after the 7 canciones populares españolas. Oh, my goodness. Is that fun? It's got, it's one of those, I just love that. Ay, guardo una pain in me pecho. Oh, God. It's all about agony, the agony of love. Oh, it's fantastic. And Granados, and, some Spanish dances, and Saraste, and Albéniz, and Casado, and Ravel, and more Falla, and more Albéniz, and more Falla. You got the ritual fire dance, of course, and some traditional stuff, the Song of the Birds, that famous Catalan folk song, arranged by Pablo Casals, and you get Rodion Shchedrin in the style of Albéniz, adapted by Maisky. It's an adaptation of an adaptation, adapted by being adapted, with Lily Maisky on the piano. And then we have 20th Century Classics for CDs 41 and 42. They include the Britten Cello Sonata, Bloch's Prayer, Bartok's Romanian Folk Dances, Stravinsky, Prokofiev, Shostakovich. These are all short things. Piazzolla, Webern, 2 pieces for cello and piano. Again, 3 little pieces. Where else are you going to get 2 of the Weberns? And you get the Messiaen Quartet for the End of Time with only 2 movements. Why not do the whole thing? Come on, guys. He should have played the whole thing. But these are with Mischa Maisky and Lily Maisky. And let's see, Villa-Lobos, Bachianas Brasileiras, number 1, the Prelude. This is with the Lucerne Symphony Orchestra under Benjamin Yusupov. and Benjamin Yusupov's Concerto for Cello and Orchestra, which I actually played before listening to this. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's okay. It's worth hearing. So then we get CD 43, which is Introduction by Mischa Maisky. He speaks in German about Dvorak's cello concerto. Needless to say, I have no interest in what he has to say about it in any language. And then rare recordings. We get a Beethoven Ghost Trio with Argerich, Rachlin, and Maisky. Chopin, one movement of the sonata with Argerich and Maisky. These are like, outtakes and things. And then the Song of the Seashore and the Lullaby of Itsuki and Offenbach's Les Larmes du Jacqueline and some stuff by some like Yoon Yoon Kim or Young Jun Kim, however you pronounce it, this elegy, and Young Sup Cho or Choi, Let Me Live Amid Nature, twice, 1 and 2. It's 2 different pieces. And I that's, he did it and they put it in there. Who cares? That's the set. Now let me put it back here, and we can conclude by saying there is a lot of music in here, a lot of duplication as usual when you see these large boxes. My general impression of Maisky, after having sampled a lot of it and replayed some of it in its entirety and checking out my Maisky CDs, a lot of which are here in the overflow room, I have to say, just because there's so many cellists doing the same repertoire, is that I was pleasantly surprised how good this was. There are some things where I think Maisky is just a little bit tasteless and maybe a bit too, like I said, drooling and hot and heavy. But on the other hand, the level of artistic mastery here is very high. The recordings with Argerich are de rigueur. I mean, everyone should hear them, although you can get them from other sources. The recordings with Orpheus are terrific, although we'll get them again with Orpheus. So if you're in it for the cello and not those other people, then obviously you want to get this. And it's nice to have. But, it's a collector's edition for people who really, really, really want a lot of cello music. I think what they really ought to do, if I were DG, I would take all of the short pieces, all of the collections of short pieces, and put them in a separate little miniature 5 or 6 CD box. Because that is Maisky, in a way, it is most personal, his most special, and also his most expressively, I think, effective. And that would be terrific. But it's up to you. So keep on listening, folks. Thank you for joining me. Take care.